phone. This is the only way I can see comments is if I pull up my phone. It says we're live. So let me pull up my phone.
We're live.
We're live.
Hi, Facebook.
You just have to trust. You just have to trust and believe.
Right, exactly. Just name it and claim it. That's what I was told as a kid.
Let me do this. Okay.
My phone, it says we're live. So
Okay, Jana. Okay, we've got a couple of people watching. Your light is
Hi,
so
people.
good too, by the way.
Which live?
Your light, the lighting.
Girl, that's the power of the sun. I'm so thankful that it's not as hot right now as it was yesterday because
Yeah.
woof,
Ooh, yes.
the Lord was not on my side yesterday. It was rough.
Did you have to be there yesterday?
No. We did come here to set up, but we did that in the afternoon and just we're indoors setting up tables. Anyway.
Okay. There are people
Hi,
watching.
everyone.
Jana, Clark, Kiana, Sarah, people are saying hello. So friends, Jarell is live. He is a voter registration volunteer. Is that right? For election day? I don't know.
I am the ballot judge.
Ooh.
I'm a Republican ballot judge in Travis
powerful.
County.
That sounds.
It sounds ridiculous. We have to take an oath. They send you a writ of election. They're like,
wow.
Before you appoint such and such, you must do this. And I was like, ooh, Lord, I feel like I've signed my life away.
That is so funny. Well, all that to say, Jarell has his phone. He's on his phone and he cannot see comments because he's on Zoom. We pushed a live to Facebook. So please say hello. Please make comments. I'm going to stay on this conversation so I can feed the comments to Jarell. But I'm so excited that he's here. Matt's here. He said hi.
Hi.
Clark said he voted early. Woohoo! Me too.
Yay. I mean, day one, I always vote early just to get it out of the way and to
avoid the crowd.
Stop the calls. The robocalls. They went.
So, okay, welcome friends. I'm here with Jarell Wilson. Jarell's a minister in Austin area. I know Jarell because we met at the Pride Interfaith Gathering a couple of years ago. But Matthew knows Jarell farther back than that, and I don't know.
A lot farther back. Matthew knows me. He knew me when I was in high school. He was one of my youth group volunteers.
Wow. Okay. So we met because Matt and I were at the Pride Interfaith Gathering, and he introduced us. And Jarell has preached at our church. Was supposed to preach this spring, and that didn't happen.
The Rona.
If you want to preach? Honestly, if you want to preach, you can jump on and preach some Sunday. Let us know. We would love that.
Well, let me know.
But I loved your bio because I was typing it in the same day my husband had downloaded Animal Crossing for my 4-year-old, and she was talking about it. She was talking about it nonstop. She's obsessed. I haven't stuck around to see what it is. She just is obsessed with it. And so I saw that. And then obviously, the thing I love about you is that you are such a bright light. I love your knowledge about Beyonce. You have so much knowledge
about Beyonce.
Like
random things.
What was that? The federal budget. And you know.
Yeah, I read the federal budget on occasion because I need to see where they're spending this money. They take it and we just let it go. And I'm like, no, I need to see where this defense budget is going. How do you justify? Because like we're still losing soldiers. Where's the safety? Where are we spending money on like safety equipment? Like, gotta keep them in check.
I know. And you're so smart. Like I like to follow you because you know things. Politics.
And when I don't know things, I pretend and wait for the people who I know who know them and let them correct me.
Well, I don't know. I think
that's how I learn, is I just let other people correct me and I just receive the correction.
Yeah. It's so funny to me because we pushed this date back a little bit and we forgot that it was election day. And it was a coincidence, but I feel like this is the perfect day for you to chat with us. So
it really is. So let's talk. So for me, my whole life, I have been a voter. My family is Black. We are We're descendants of people that were formerly enslaved. And so for us, voting has just been what our family does. My parents, they pick us up from school and then they would meet after work at the polling place. And me and my brother would walk in and we would watch our parents vote every single election. And no matter what, school board, and my parents sent us to private school. They still voted in school board elections. They still voted in every single thing that came up because they're like, too many of us fought and died for this right. And when they say of us, they mean specifically of Black Americans who fought and died for these rights, because not everyone got free in 1776. Some of us had to wait a few years, and some of us are still waiting. And that, for me, the people who are still waiting is the theological reason why we need to be voters. If we aren't the ones directing power, if we aren't the ones saying, this is the person who's being excluded, these are the people who need food, these are the people who needs clothes, the money that we pay in taxes is going to go to the people who are speaking, to the people who are outspoken. And right now we're being outvoiced by people with a lot of money. So unless people on the ground outnumber them and outweigh them and yell at senators and congresswomen and at governors as much as we can and make sure that they're being held accountable, we're going to just lose the ability to change anything in this country.
Yeah.
But also the theological part, the study of God, God has invited us to be co-creators with her in this world. God has told us to take up our cross daily and to follow Christ. God has told us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Part of what's loving ourselves is taking care of our needs, and loving our neighbors means that we also need to make sure that their needs are met too. And for me personally, it's impossible to feed all the homeless people in the city of Austin. But with all of our tax money working together, I'm certain it's an achievable goal. With all of our tax money together, I'm certain everyone can get healthcare and everyone can get education and everyone can be fed and clothed. And so voting is the most easy means to get that done. It's not the only means. I'm not saying that that's all you should do. Quite the contrary. There's a lot of work that needs done. There's a lot of things that we can do to volunteer and make sure people's needs are met.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't know.
That's my talk in 5 minutes. What
Well,
about you? How did you get involved, like, politically? What an awakening of sorts.
Well, I'm one of those, like, it's so embarrassing, but I'm one of those people who was pretty apathetic until the whole 2015 hit.
Mm.
And I don't like to, I mean, that's embarrassing. That's that's stupid. But it was,
But it's growing. We're all
yeah.
growing.
Yeah, I woke up because, a lot happened. And then of course the election, and then 2016, the election, and then just what the pain that came out from that. Like, you couldn't ignore it. You couldn't ignore. And I knew that the way that I was processing the election, the leading up to the election, was different than the people around me. Like, I think that was when I woke up to the fact that I was a brown woman and I had a different experience growing up because of the color of my skin, and I could go back and realize it. And I don't think I ever felt permission to say that or to own that. And then during that election, people were like, no, I don't know. I don't want to, I wasn't prepared for your question, but ever since then,
I'm sorry. I put you on the spot.
I think I was around a lot of really moderate people who didn't know what to do. And for me, like, the choice was clear what to do in 2015.
Right.
Right.
And for me, it was like, I didn't have time to process the election because immediately after we go into the Muslim ban, immediately after we go into, like, DACA gets attacked, and it's just like, woof, Lord, when are we going to get 10 seconds to breathe?
It's been one thing after another.
after another, and now we have a pandemic, and now we have like
which, by the
like,
way, I don't mean to get too partisan, but I saw on Twitter today that Trump blamed testing on Obama and Biden. He literally, if you go look, he literally said that Obama and Biden stopped testing, or he made a comment about testing and then blamed it on Obama and Biden. It was so bizarre. I was like, huh? Anyway, it's a
4 years after. Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you some comments real quick. So we have had 2 people vote today, no line at all. Matt said that the Matt you knew was a different Matthew.
I mean, that's true for the Jarell he knew too. Thank God, we all grew.
Yeah. Amen. Thank God I'm able to grow and just keep growing. Janice said, "What a great laugh!" Talking about your laugh.
Oh, thank
okay.
you.
Matt has a question, and feel free to ask questions. Right? You're better at off the cuff than me.
I love questions. Please ask questions.
Okay, he said, what continues to give you hope in this process? Why keep sticking with it when it can feel futile to engage? Asking for a friend.
Right. A friend, quote unquote. So the things that give me hope is I have to look outward. In Texas, it's hard because statewide, we don't really have a choice. We are a one-party state in a lot of ways. So I look locally because local organizations do a lot of work. And then I look out like, oh, so-and-so voted and they were able to elect this. Maybe one day we'll get there too. Let's keep refining candidates. And part of the hope comes from just being involved and from meeting other people who are doing this work too and feeling not alone and having support. Without the support, you will get exhausted in 2 to 3 weeks. Like any pastor can tell you, without support, you're not going to do ministry. Any doctor can tell you, without support, your team will fall apart. But we don't take those same things and transfer that idea to the rest of our life. Without support, your marriage won't work. Without support, you'll stop being a good voter. Without support, you're not going to be the best citizen and the best pastor, the best father, mom, etc. that you can possibly be. So finding a team to work with and remind yourself, hey, let's write letters this week. Everybody write one to Governor Abbott or write one to President Trump. Abbott probably is a better bet than Trump. That's my opinion. But write your local people too. Write the city council. They don't get as many letters, so they're more likely to read them. Holding people accountable often just means bothering them until they do the right thing. And thank God, Jesus gives us a story about this in scripture, about the widow and the unjust judge. And the unjust judge didn't want to rule justly, but the widow continually came day after day, night after night, demanding justice. And the judge said, because you've bothered me, I will give you what you want, so you'll leave me alone. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what democracy is. Wow. You bother them until they do what you want.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You have, I just love listening to you. Well, and going back to 2015 for me, because it wasn't that I didn't vote, it was that I didn't engage locally and pay attention locally. That was where, and it was in the part of it was I had to deconstruct my faith to open my eyes.
To allow you to engage. Yeah. Right.
And so it was that process. And I think that's important for faith people to hear, because a lot of us came from these really fundamentalist evangelical backgrounds where we thought it was just so separated. And anyway,
I was told explicitly that I would go to hell if I ever voted for a Democrat.
Yes, I grew up around
hell. That was the threat.
Yes. And that's what I grew up around in my context in rural North Louisiana, was that no one knew any Christians. No one knew any Christians that were Democrats. And so when I moved into Texas and was into the social work program, and everyone in the room,
that'll get you.
I was like, And it was at Baylor,
With
so everyone
tattoos and
was a Christian,
piercings.
right? But yes.
The one part of Baylor where there's nothing but tattoos, piercings, and swearing.
But I was
Besides
like,
the business
oh,
building.
wait a minute, you can be a Christian and not like, and people, it's so intertwined that they think they're a heretic or something if they engage any other type
Right.
of
Any idea that's not the norm, quote unquote.
yeah.
So, do we have any more questions? Did Matt have a follow-up for his friend?
Yeah, we have a lot more different people watching too. Okay, someone said I voted Friday, took my 3-year-old.
Yay.
Matt said, look local, have support / a team, write letters. He's quoting what you said and saying he loves that. And he said, deconstructing a fatalistic faith and the idea that God is controlling everything leads to true engagement. Yeah.
I do. So a lot of people, I'm going to go back to the importance of letters versus phone calls. Do both. Make a phone call. But phone calls are a lot easier to ignore. If you look at anyone on their iPhone, you will see how easy it is to ignore a phone call. And voicemail boxes get filled really quick. When I was calling that one attorney general in Kentucky over Breonna Taylor, I was just, every time I call, the voicemail box is full. But you can't get a mailbox that's too full in a public service environment. They'll just keep sending it. So writing letters is a good, tangible way of making sure that what you're saying is registered. Because they have to open the letter, they have to read what you're saying, and register what a voter said, especially if you are a constituent of the person you're writing to. They keep everything you send and it becomes part of the historic record. So even if they don't do what you want to, over time, someone down the line in the future will see that a letter was sent and that people were dissenting from the ruling part, that people were not pleased, that people spoke out against what was happening. So it's important. Even if it is just a witness, it's still a witness, and using our voices is powerful.
Yes. How often, how much time do you spend writing letters and calling, and how does a person add that rhythm to their life? Do you have any tips?
So I think just getting on a schedule is easy. The phone calls take maybe 5 minutes because they want to get off the phone with you as fast as possible too, because they have other people calling. Letter writing takes a little bit more time, but you can almost always find like a template to follow. And you just, dear blank, Governor Abbott, I am disappointed in the way that you've been handling the COVID-19 crisis. I would like for you to mandate masks statewide or stop schools from reopening in the fall in person. Like, you just get into the template, and once you have it in your mind, you can write a letter in 2 minutes and be done. Just, and even if it's like a 2-minute chore, make it something fun. Hey kids, let's write the president today. Everyone get out your crayons. Like, everybody, let's do this together. We're all gonna do it as part of our good night. Let's write the president, say our prayers, get in bed. Like, you can find a way to make it a family thing and get your kids in the habit. Get on FaceTime and write letters while you're talking to your friends. Like, there's all sorts of different ways you can incorporate it into your schedule and just make it a regular part of your day. It's like, for evangelical people, it's like your quiet time with the Lord, except for this is your noisy time yelling at your senators. It's the opposite of quiet time.
Except it's actually doing something. Hopefully.
Well, hopefully your quiet time with the Lord is doing something too, but this is like getting in people's face, which is more fun than yelling at God, I think.
Just use that same energy though.
Yes, exactly.
Let's see. Okay, cool. Someone says, well, Clark's saying we're cutting in and out. Tell me if we still are. I hope not. Naomi says, love that, getting kids involved. And so from the time you can remember, that was probably what was so
literally
about your journey.
The first one would have been Bill Clinton's re-election was probably my first time at the presidential polls. Like, I can't remember a time where my parents didn't vote. And so for me, you brought up 2015. That was the first time my mom said that she didn't want to. She said, I can't think of a reason why I would want to vote. She still did. Habit is habit. She voted for somebody. But she was like, she was just in this moral dilemma. And I find a lot of people, well, now I think people are a lot more energized to vote, seeing how things have gone since 2016 and watching all sorts of things occur. Children in cages, if that wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back, I don't know what will. But yeah, my whole life, I don't think it's too soon to start kids. Like, we can start drawing pictures of us marching in the streets, like, and with crayons and stick figures if we need to. It's never too early to tell kids part of us loving our neighbor means making sure that we vote in a way that their needs get met.
Ooh, someone write that down. Part of say that again.
Part of loving our neighbor means that we vote to make sure that their needs get met.
Amen. That is so, so good. So how are you navigating this upcoming election? I know there's a lot of anxiety around it. It's because it's like,
and it's the worst because there's no way I could get excited about Joe Biden as a candidate.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
But there's so much that we need to do. So for me, the reason I am excited to vote is it comes down to courts, looking at the current president, who he's been picking, people that are deliberately hostile to people of color, deliberately hostile to women's rights, deliberately hostile to LGBT people. And so for me, I get quote unquote excited about the idea that we can, if we elect someone different this fall, we can appoint a different time judge to almost every bench in the nation that will counteract the people that have been placed on there in the last 4 years. And for me, that means more sound judgment. That means more voices for queer people, for women, for people of color, for the disadvantaged. That's exciting to me. And hopefully there will be a decent vice presidential pick that I can ignore the top of the ticket and continue moving on. But also it's those local elections. Attorney General, we're trying to get a new district attorney in Austin to stop prosecuting children that smoke weed. Like, y'all, there's a pandemic and you're still arresting 18-year-olds for smoking pot. Like, really? There's nothing better we could be doing with our time? Like, making sure elderly people get their groceries or don't end up volunteering at election booths and getting sick. Like, there's so much more we could be dedicating our time to. So those are the things that excite me: the local action, the potential for courts that aren't awful, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's health. Those are the things that motivate me.
I know. And I think every time something discouraging happens in our federal government or like a wide scale, it just reminds me to turn back to the local government to, try and make as much of a mark as I can. And seeing, again, the amount of potential candidates that were people of color was so exciting. And then to watch
5 women, all of those people of color, and then just to watch it get whiter and whiter and older and older and older.
I'm not gonna lie, that was very disheartening. That was like so intentional in how it happened that made me feel like just it made me feel hopeless. And then I had to turn back again to the local election. So I think that's sort of a good word that you reminding us when you write those letters,
right?
You're gonna get a better ear on it if you if you pay attention to local too.
I think we've done a disservice by making the presidential office seem so big, is people think that like if you don't win that spot, you can't have anything. And like there's so many people of color doing such good work in the federal level. There's so many women in
Mhm.
positions of power that women were never even allowed to dream about, even just 15, 20 years ago. And so, like, we are making progress, but it's nowhere near as fast as I would like it. And so
Yeah.
for me, I just have to like find the progress that I would like and hold on to it and cling to it.
Mhm.
Like, we have mini versions of Medicare for all, or at least Medicare for the poor in Travis County.
Yeah.
The medical access program makes sure that everyone has at least a form of insurance so that they can get discounted prescriptions and access to um, emergency room visits and therapy at a rate that isn't astronomical. And so it's like, wow, because people voted locally, even though we didn't get Medicare for all, we were able to provide a form of it to the people that need it the most.
Yeah.
And we were able to do that here in our city without needing the state's help, without needing anyone else to do it. And if we get all of our other local environments working on meeting people's needs, then we'll be living into that Good Samaritan story. We'll be living into the a small sliver of what it is that God has for us in store in the kingdom.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about politics for yourself?
Ha! So I ran for office when I was in seminary. You see my Austin Seminary polo. I
Yes.
wore it just for y'all. Yeah, I ran against an entrenched incumbent, is what I'll say. He's been in office since the year of my birth. Multi-millionaire. He became a millionaire while in office. And he voted against and you might not remember it because this feels like 10 lifetimes ago, but there were the Syrian refugees
Mhm.
that were coming to the United States because of the civil war there.
Mhm.
And this congressman voted to extend the amount of time they needed to wait before they could come to the United States by another 12 months. So instead of the 2 years that's normal, he wanted to extend it to 3, which I don't know what an extra year of time would do to magically make someone safer or like, but when people are fleeing for their lives, waiting for 3 years doesn't seem reasonable to me. And there was no guarantee that it provided more safety. And that just, I was fed up. So I ran against him and I did not go anywhere, but I tried.
I
And
hope
who knows, maybe one day I'll try again
yeah, you
if
should
first
start,
you don't succeed.
you would be amazing. You would be amazing serving our country and our community.
Right.
What happened to your video? You're gone. Your video.
Yeah, I got the polls. They're searching for me.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You are
Thank you for
a
having me.
prophet. You're a prophet to me.
I'm done with
You're one
you.
of my pastors. I love learning from you. Um,
I'm done with you.
you
I
speak
love
the
you so
truth.
much.
A prophet is a
Thank you so
person who
much.
speaks the uncomfortable truth, and you are
That
that.
is true. I do
So,
speak uncomfortable truths.
yeah.
I'll give myself that.
Well,
Anyway, thank you for having me,
yeah.
church.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me stop this stream and then I'll let you off Zoom too. But thank you
Okay.
guys for watching, and we'll talk to you later.